today we have a great fortune of having two very illustrious devotees and guests who have graced our program. I would like to introduction to them. We have His Grace Kaunteya Prabhu. In 1980, he joined ISKCON in Italy, and his spiritual master, His Holiness Jai Pataka Swami Maharaj, very dear disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Along with him, he is the co-minister for our ISKCON Congregation Development Ministry. He is also on the strategic planning team of the GBC's future planning for ISKCON's activities as a chairman. And he also is the trustee of our GBC College, which is a training ground for all ISKCON leadership in future that will be coming up. And most importantly, Prabhuji is very, very wonderful teacher of Bhakti Shastri, all this Bhagavad Gita, Ishopanishad, these books that you have been studying. He has been teaching them for years together. So I thought of this as a great opportunity to have him here. And today we will be hearing from him on Bhagavad Gita. We also have his good wife, Shri Radhe Govinda Mataji. She comes from a traditional Madhva family, initiated in 2003. And having completed her Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhakti Shastri, etc. courses, very Shastric courses in ISKCON. Now she is also a president of MAPSS, that is Mayapur, you have to help me, Astrologic and Psychosomatic Sacred Sciences. So it's a very wonderful forum, also a service-giving entity for the devotee community, where we are spreading authentic astrology and knowledge of psychology the Vedic way. And she has been heading that effort, spearheading it. She also is the director for one bhaktimarriages.com, as well as the courses that are offered under that Bhakti Marriages forum. So officially giving training to couples who are about to get married, and also of course post-marital counseling, because she has a great experience in astrology, psychology and other fields. She has much more ability to guide and encourage many devotees in their married life, being made a wonderful offering to Krishna. So we have both these wonderful souls amongst us. Let's welcome them by Hari Bol 3 times. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. So before we begin today, because we are meeting after a long time, I would just pick us up from wherever we were and just bring it to the doorstep where Prabhuji will venture into the verse 3.33. So we had begun that Sri Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 1, is called problem definition. You know, in any I forgot to mention, because this is a topic that is coming, in any PhD that you do, you have to first do the problem definition very clearly. Prabhuji is also a PhD in Indo-Vedic psychology. So we have problem definition. What is our common problem? Not stress. Where does the stress come from? Dehatma buddhi. Very correct. So this is our common problem. We have a misidentification with matter, our body to be ourselves, and its extension being considered as our own. So Dehatma buddhi, and we saw Arjuna's 5 arguments, CESDI, compassion on bodily platform, what will happen to my enjoyment, fear of sinful reactions, destruction of family traditions, and indecision. 5 reasons Arjuna gives for not fighting the battle, not being dutiful. We also give the similar reasons to postpone our Krishna consciousness in our lives. We want to show compassion on bodily platform. We want to become philanthropists. We say God later, humanity first, whatever. We are fearful of losing our material enjoyments. We think spirituality will put too many restrictions on me. We are also fear of committing sinful things if I don't take care of my earlier, whatever, Devata worship or whatever things I used to do before, get sinful reactions. Destruction of family traditions, what will happen to our late night beer parties or whatever that was that we were fearful of losing as a tradition that was continuing in our background. And indecision. Material life is very appealing, spiritual life is also very attractive, but we are 50-50. We don't know where to go exactly. So these are our typical reasons we give for postponing our practice of spiritual culture. Now, then begins chapter 2. What is the acronym? Gita, G-I-T-A. G for? Guru, yeah. One must surrender to a guru in order to solve the problems of our life, perplexities that come moment to moment in our life. Then I for? Identity. The first thing that Guru will reveal to us is who we are. We are spirit souls, parts and parcels of God. We are here for a small tenure in material world. Our actual service is to render devotional service to God, Krishna. T for? Two dharmas. What are they? Okay, Swadharma, which means our conditional duty. We have to do duties towards this world, towards our body, family, etc. And we have our Swarupa Dharma. What is that? Krishna consciousness, our relationship with God being taken care of. So we must function on both platforms simultaneously. Two tracks of a train going parallelly together. Nothing to be neglected. And the challenges that we come across in fulfilling these two tracks actually make us come to the next stage called Atma Rama or Sthita Pradnya. That's the last section in this chapter. What happens here? You become steady in your consciousness, Sthita Pradnya. So there are symptoms that Krishna describes. He's like a practically Superman. Whatever our He-Man, Batman, Superman, all the descriptions will fade away in front of the description of this person that we have come across. He is real Superman. And that's how chapter 2 ends, giving us a call about becoming a Sthita Pradnya. And then chapter 3 is what we started last time with. What's the acronym? Tree. T3 for tree. Huh? Easy to remember. T for? Tyaga versus Karma Yoga. Which is better? Karma Yoga is better than mere renunciation of things of this world. R for? Rungs of the yoga ladder. So I hope you remember our discussion on this. Stages of consciousness and corresponding practices that a person has in his life. Yoga ladder. And then E for? Becoming exemplary. So that's the current section in which we are in. How to discharge Karma Yoga, especially in a way that we bring other materialistic people to spirituality. We ourselves are convinced now that we should practice, but we should also behave in a way that we inspire many others. So how should a devotee conduct himself and how should he set an example for others is here, exemplary. And last is enemy of the soul, that is lust. What makes us unexemplary in our life and how to deal with it. So that's eventually going to come up. Today Prabhuji is going to focus here. And we have the verse for today, Bhagavad Gita 3.33. I request you to kindly now begin paying attention to Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Bhagavad Gita, text 33 of chapter 3. Sadrisham shishte svasyaha Prakritar Gyanavan api Prakritim yanti bhutani Nigraha kim karishyati Sadrusham cheshtate svasya Prakritir Gyanavan api Prakritim yanti bhutani Nigraha kim karishyati. So word by word, sadrisham, accordingly, cheshtate, tries, svasyaha, by his own, prakritihi, modes of nature, Jnanavan, learned, api, although, prakritim, nature, yanti, undergo, bhutani, all living entities, nigraha, repression, kim, what, karishyati, can do. So we read the translation and then we don't read the purport. Okay. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Krishna speaking to Arjuna. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature. For everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish? Shall we repeat together? I'll just read a piece. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature. For everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish? Here we encounter one of the many rhetorical questions in the Bhagavad Gita. Rhetorical question means a question which is not really a question. It's a statement in the form of a question. So the question here is, what can repression accomplish? It means, in other words, repression won't accomplish anything. Why? Because even a man of knowledge, Jnanavan, a man or woman who has acquired knowledge, wisdom, acts according to their psychophysical nature. The nature acquired from the three modes. I assume everyone is familiar with the three modes. The three modes are actually the fabric of the universe. All gross and subtle manifestations are manifestation of the three gunas. Three gunas meaning three qualities, three characteristics. And because of our previous association, previous in this life and in previous lives, with different modes of nature, we have acquired a certain disposition. And that cannot be really changed. If you put a farmer, a real farmer, natural farmer, who by nature, that's just how this is structured, genetically built to work on the field. You put him on a desk to work 9 to 5, he will go mad. He will be restless. He can't stay at the desk. But then you take a chartered account, a genetically designed chartered account, means he's born to be a chartered account. And you put it in the field, he'll probably die of sunstroke. So you can't say one is better than the other. Respectively, the farmer should be the farmer, and a chartered accountant should be the chartered accountant, the teacher should be the teacher, and the warrior should be the warrior, and so on. Now, the big question comes, what is our nature? I mean, we can accept the principle, yeah, I mean, makes sense. We have a nature, we work according to that nature. But then the question comes, what is our nature? Or another way to ask the question is, what's the difference between our nature and our tendencies? Our nature and our acquired inclinations. What's the difference in our nature and our habits? Some of us may be smoking, and it became part of us. I'm a smoker. One pack a day is part of my life, it's part of myself, it's part of my physiology. I need that nicotine. It's part of me. I'm a smoker, okay? But is it my nature to be a smoker? Did I grow up drinking milk or smoking cigarettes? What about before there was no cigarettes? Cigarettes that are known in this part of the world since about 400 years, right? Before, no one has ever heard about smoking tobacco because there was no tobacco, right? So is smoking part of our nature? Obviously, no. It's a acquired habit, and this is kind of easy to understand. It's easy to understand, but there are other tendencies, especially psychological ones, which are more subtle, which are more difficult to understand. The way I think, is it really the way I think? Or, I mean, is this really me? And it's really part of me, the part that Krishna is saying you can't repress? Or it's an acquired part? It's some idea that comes from outside. It's not really coming from the three modes of nature. It's more of an artificial imposition on my mind. Once I made a little experiment. I was in Costa Rica, Central America, and we had a farm, and one day we had to go to the city. It's half an hour, and I made a little experiment. I said to myself, I'm going to count, to pay attention to the road, and count all the times I read the word Coca-Cola. I really paid attention. So I was looking left and right, the shops, countryside. And I counted 50 times. 50 times I counted. And I don't know how many I missed. Small, big, and so. So I counted in half an hour, just going from the farm to the city, I counted 50 times. And obviously we understand that even if I wasn't counting, my senses, my mind would have been impressed by that. I mean, I would have seen it anyway, okay? So what does it mean? And Coca-Cola knows that. Coca-Cola knows they have a lousy product. Coca-Cola knows that they will be killed in the market if they were not investing large amounts in publicity. So by spending millions and billions of dollars in publicity, they condition us that the first time we want to drink something, a soft drink, the first that comes to mind is Coca-Cola. Because we are almost brainwashed. Once I tried a similar experiment in Bosnia. It was the same. Coca-Cola, 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 Coca-Cola. So, but is it my nature to look for Coca-Cola? No, it's something acquired. If Coca-Cola never started, I will never think of Coca-Cola. We'll think of coconut water, we'll think of lemonades and other things, which, by the way, are much better. They quench thirst, they don't contain refined sugar, and so on and so forth. So who can answer this question? When we look at ourselves, when we take a look at ourselves, and I assume you are all here. I don't know each of you. First time I have the pleasure to be in your company. But I assume that you are all looking at yourself, looking at your tradition, looking at the reality, and again, looking at yourself. What's your place in reality? What's your duty? I mean, you know your duties. I mean, I'm sure you're all responsible fathers and mothers, and you have occupations, professions, jobs. We're not talking about that duty. I'm talking more about a metaphysical duty. There is a larger, broader reality. What's our place in that? What's our direction? Because I assume the other duties you're already taking care of. Right? You're not here. I heard some of you are designer architects. How many of you are an architect? Or in the okay. So you're not here to learn architecture. You're not here. You know architecture. That you've done in different places, in a different forum. You're practicing. So you're learning something else. And this is a crucial question. Who am I? What's my nature? And again, how do I distinguish my nature and my acquired tendencies? The thing which I started thinking of myself, but it's not me. And this is interesting because I like this word here, cheshtate, the first line, cheshtate, tries. Cheshta is also, in the Bhagavad Gita, is used several times. Cheshta means also effort. That's what trying in the sense of endeavor. So in other words, we have a nature, okay? But to act according to the nature, it takes effort. Which may sound paradoxical, right? Because if it's your nature, it should be natural, right? If it's your nature, it should be natural. But it's not actually like that. Like for instance, say you have a legal brain, a natural legal brain. See connections between statements, argue how this statement is more important than this other statement. You have a natural legal brain. Still, you have to go through school, right? You have to go the effort. Nobody's going to give you a certificate as a lawyer, what to speak as a judge, unless you go through the process. So you may have a very natural legal brain. Still, you have to study. You have to study the codes of laws. You have to go through the exams. So there is an effort. This is a very important thing. Even to act according to our nature, there is an effort that is necessary. Why? Because there are so many interferences. There are so many things, influences, ideas, vibration, atmospheres that clash with our nature. They don't allow us to express who really we are. They try to impose another idea of who we are. Should we move to the next, should we ask for questions? Any questions on what we discussed so far? If you want to add anything, Shiradi. She's always correcting me in private, but she's cultured enough not to do it in public. Maybe later on in the car, she'll tell you, you could have told that. Why don't you do that? Why don't you give the analogy? Why did you quote that verse? And I will have to admit, yeah, you're right, because that's her nature.
So if we are talking about us in this human beings, so the nature of all should be same, or it can be different for each individual?
Will be very different. Will be very different. Some people will be natural intellectuals. They will be attracted to study. They will be attracted to analysis. research, maybe teaching. Some intellectuals don't teach, but they will write. And that's their nature. Some people, they're not intellectual at all. And there's nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Some people are practical men. Some people are attracted naturally to trade. They see something, immediately they think, with the pillow, how much will it cost? Okay. How much would I sell it for? It's their nature.
So we are talking about different individual nature here.
Yes. Yes. You are right in the sense that humans as a species or as a category, they have a certain, we could say, common responsibilities. Like you are all citizens of India, I surmise, I assume. And as citizens of India, irrespective of your social status or your personal ideas, you have certain duties towards the country, right? Or you have also certain rights. You can vote, you can choose your government, you have to pay taxes because you got to reciprocate with your government is providing you roads and electricity grid lines and so on and so forth. So there are certain common traits. And if you have been studying the Bhagavad Gita, you know the common trait for human beings, the common, you could say, obligation, if we can use this word, or dharma, the common duty is self-realization. In other words, working for the upkeep of the maintenance of family, state, and so on and so forth, the body, but also research, inquire, what's my place in the world? And ask the fundamental question, where am I? What's happened when this body is gone? What consequences my actions will bring? That moral dimension, ethical dimension, that animals can't have. The animal acts on instinct, and it's fine for them. And that's why, fortunately, they don't have the intelligence to build weapons. Because they have limited, a dog, sometimes we say, oh, that man is so bad, it's the dog, no? But actually, dogs are pretty innocent animals. Oh, they go around, they sniff around, they look for some food, they look for some shelter. But human beings can do a lot of more damage. Can start wars, can poison whole entire cities, can do a lot of more damage than a dog. The dog can't even think of doing. So, your question is actually very profound. Yes, we do have a common nature as human beings. Besides, of course, not 2 legs, 2 arms, and so on. Besides the physiological, but we have a common obligation to look for something higher, to ask essential questions. That's a common. And then we have our own individual nature. How we express our identity in society, and also how we express our identity in divine service. See, the Bhagavad Gita will lead us again and again to understand that our identity is of service. We are servant. That's our intrinsic nature. We naturally are inclined in our constitutional position to give pleasure to others, to give satisfaction, to establish relations and try to please the other. And the Bhagavad Gita is going to tell us that nature will be perfected when we offer our service to God. See, because nature is very much connected to action. Our actions will follow our nature. An intellectual will study, a practical man will work, and so on and so forth. A legal-minded person will argue in court, a teacher will teach, and so on and so forth. So, okay. Self-realization. Some people use the word religion, but we can compare it. It's a path of advancement. It's a path of aligning with the cosmic laws of the universe, with the laws of God. And an interesting thing that in the Bhagavad Gita comes through many times, these three divisions of karma, jnana, I want this, and bhakti. Okay, and this is interesting because any religion in the world is subdivided into these three modalities. By karma we mean, okay, we do some religion, we do some prayers, we do some puja, okay? But then I get something better materially, okay? Either I get more money in this life, or next life I go to heaven. And different religion, different tradition have different ideas of heaven. In Hinduism or in the Vedic tradition, we have Swargaloka, right? The paradisiacal planets where there are apsaras, there is Somarasa, and all those things. Then in Christianity, they have heaven. Not so well defined, but they have a concept of heaven. In Islam, there is also heaven. And then those who say they're very good, they get 72 virgins, and whatever their conception of enjoyment, okay? So that's karma. And again, that is a form of religious life. So you have the Vedic, you could say the Christian, you say Islam, even Buddhism. In other words, yes, I relate to the deity, I offer some respect, some worship, but I do that for something material. So there is a recognition of the deity, there is a recognition of a higher power, often also God, but the relation is based on a fruitive desire. Then there is jnana. Jnana means many things, but in this context, jnana means renunciation of the world. Jnana, vairagya, tyaga. And every tradition, and we could go on, Buddhism and so on and so on and so forth. It's not just these four, saying the main. In jnana, the practitioner renounces the world. He's not trying for heaven. He's not trying for apsaras or 72 virgins or even just 36 or whatever. He just renounces. He comes to an idea that the world is illusion, or the world doesn't exist, or the world is bad. So a very negative idea of the world. And basically they don't do anything. They don't engage with the world. They may study the Upanishads, okay? They may do Mauna Vrata, because when you talk, then somebody talks back, So better to keep quiet if you want peace. So they, what do you call? They try to extract themselves from the world and its activities. And again, there is the Vedic jnana, there is the Christian jnana. There are saints who speak about renunciation. They go in the desert. There's many saints. Then Islamic jnana, there are also schools more like of detachment than engagement. And Buddhist, of course, Buddhist is very much originally into jnana, into the detachment from the world. But then there is another element which is the most difficult to understand. Because has got the enthusiasm for action of karma and has got the detachment of jnana. And bhakti means devotion, loving devotion. One who practices the path of bhakti works very hard in this world, but in a spirit of detachment. And so people who are affected by the karma and jnana conception find very hard to understand the bhaktas. Find very hard. Because they see these bhaktas, they move around, they do this, they print books, they distribute books, they open temples. And maybe for themselves they just sleep on the floor or they don't, but they are working very hard. And there is bhakti, of course, very much in the Vedic tradition. Bhagavad Gita is a text of bhakti. There is Christian saint, Christian mystics that speak about bhakti, not asking anything to God. Just serve God. Islam, there are forms of bhakti, mystic tradition of chanting the holy name and so on and so forth. And even Buddhism, although traditionally, again, it came with the jnana, but because bhakti, it's inside everyone, there are branches of Hinduism that they get into chanting the holy name, they get into worship and all that. So, this is very important because again, especially this aspect of bhakti as being very hard to understand. How, in other words, the bhakti yogis, they work with a lot of energy, but not with materialistic motivations. They do not reject their nature. I'm a lawyer, I'm an architect, I'm a teacher, I'm a businessman. They don't reject their nature, and they work very hard, but they offer the fruits. They offer the fruits of the work. They don't feel the sense of possession. At the same time, they engage fully with the world. They stay in the world. They are in the world, but not of the world. Any other question? Yes.
Yeah, nature. But because of some reason, because of some circumstances, because of some professions or anything, you acquire some tendencies and that becomes so predominant that it starts affecting your original nature.
Yes, ultimately, in one sense, even what we call our nature, it's acquired. Because just like the verse says here, and Prabhu is putting the next verse because he's telling me indirectly, you need to move on. But see, here is saying that his own nature, svasya prakriter prakritim yanti. No. The prakriter prakritim, there is a stress of nature. But even that nature is an acquired nature. We say, in other words, we say because it's so strong, again, you cannot turn a farmer into a accountant or an intellectual into a bricklayer or bricklayer into a university professor. You can't. You can try. No? Many political movements that try classless society. They tried. Some philosophers, especially German philosophers, Germans tend to create a lot of problems in the world for some reason. There's some German philosopher, Karl Marx, they have this idea, but there are classes. Even you see the China flag. There's one major star and 4 smaller stars. The major star represents the Communist Party, and the 4 stars present different classes. So the idea of a classless society is artificial. It never happened, it will never happen. Okay, so yes, your point is very interesting. Yeah, the tendencies that we acquire, if they become strong, if they become what you call predominant, prominent, then it becomes our nature, becomes a part of identity. Like you have a student, he may have a nature, say even of an intellectual, okay? But then because of bad association, he becomes a drug addict. And that's his main identity. That's all he can manage to be. He can function in society. He can start a family. Now, when he was a child, he was not a drug addict. But then he became a drug addict, so tendencies, destructive tendencies, took over his mind and body, and his nature was completely covered. So your point is very well taken. Sometimes when the tendencies overpower our, we could say, healthy nature, then it's a major problem. And everybody recognizes. It's not a question of even Bhagavad Gita. Everybody recognizes. Somebody becomes addicted to drugs. Somebody is addicted to pornography. Somebody else is addicted to alcohol. Somebody else is addicted to cricket. No, I shouldn't say. No, I didn't say that. So it becomes a part of our nature. And then in the next life, it manifests more. So yes, we need to be very careful with the tendencies that we cultivate because they become our nature. Thank you. Next. So within this idea that yes, we have a nature, but even the Jnanavan does endeavor. Then this verse more like elaborates on that, so we can read that. Indriyasyendriyasyarte raga dvesha vyavastito tayurna vasam agachit taui asya paripantino. Indriyasya, of the senses. Indriyasya arte, in the sense objects. Raga, attachment. Dvesha, also detachment. Vyavastito, put under regulations. Tayoho, of them. Na, never. Vasham, control. Agachit, one should come. Tau, those. He certainly, asya, is. Paripantino, stumbling blocks. There are principles. Okay, I'll read once by myself, then I'll ask you to go. There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion because there are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. Okay, now if you like to repeat after me. There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion. Because they're stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. So this verse introduced the idea of the senses and of sense control. In Western conception, there are 5 senses. The senses of perception. So there is the skin for touch, there's the tongue for taste, there's the eyes for sight, and there is the nose for smell, and there are the ears for listening. In the Vedic conception, there are 10 senses. They're called Gyanendriyas, the ones we just described. Gyanendriyas means the senses that inform you about your environment. They give you information. Is it hot? How this food tastes, sounds, and so on. Is this smooth or is this rough? And then there is also karmendriyas. In other words, the senses that allow you to act on your environment. And basically the body, what we call body, it's a structure of Gyanendriyas and Karmendriyas, arranged in a very particular way. Karmendriyas, we need to move, so we have legs. We need to grasp things, we need to take things, so we have hands. We need to say things, so we have a tongue, which are this dual function, tasting and producing sounds. Then we have our sexuality, we have our reproductive organs. We have to choose how to use, if to use, when to use. And then we have our excretory organs. Again, 5 senses by which we know our environment, and 5 senses by which we act on our environment. And here it says that we got to regulate the senses. It's like I have a punch, okay? I have a hand. I can close the punch. Not. As if I become angry, I may want to just give a punch to somebody. And for me, it may be very natural. It's not an effort, I can guarantee. In some cases. And I can say, but it's very natural. I just got angry and I just punch him in the face. I have the senses. They're given by God. But no legislation in the world will accept that. They'll put me in jail. In India, in America, in Russia. Because they say, no, it's a violence. No, you cannot punch people in the face. If you have a problem, you go to the police. If you have a problem, you go to the court. And so on and so forth. You can't revenge yourself. Similarly, I have a tongue. I want to taste different things. There are so many things. There are so many shops, food marts, footpath little things, kiosks, restaurants. Now you can order food by Flipkart or Amazon. You have food. You have access to different food. So I may say, no, but I want to taste that. I want to taste dead animals, especially if they are cooked with spices. That's one case in which the law of the country may allow. But the laws of God, the laws of cosmos may not allow. That's one case where there may be conflict. No. Or I cannot eat the food of somebody else. That even the law of the country. No, if I am in an office, people generally bring tiffins, and I hear, I don't know, I hear that sometimes it's a phenomenon in many offices, the stealing of somebody else's tiffins. Do you have experience with that? You have experience that your food has been stolen? No. Okay, here maybe we are very civilized. But in America, it's almost an epidemic. They even make special lunch boxes. The special lunch boxes with written attention, organs for transplants. So nobody goes and opens them. No. Anyway, this is something. Okay, so my point is, we may have the tendency to touch this and taste that and punch this and kick the other person. Okay, and maybe say, no, it's very natural. It's very natural. But he said, no, you can't do that. You can't come under the control of that. Otherwise, it will be a block. Huh? It will be a block on every level. First of all, psychologically, you become under the control of certain substances. Like, for instance, we mentioned smoking. Huh? I mean, say, no, but I like smoke. There's this nicotine, there's this tobacco. I like that warmth in the mouth, because India is not warm enough. I need to put also some warm inside, you know. So I like it. I like it. I like it. It's also cool, no? I take it out. But no, it's not. It's not. That's not the use of the senses. So again, one may say, oof. So what is natural? What's allowed? What's not allowed? And then again, this idea, humans are different than animals. Animals don't have really rules, but the instincts, it's enough. Like a tiger, national animal, tiger. Your national animal. Tigers have sex once every 2 years. They go in heat every 2 years. Maybe that's why there are so few left, because they don't reproduce much. No? So they're there, very powerful, muscular, but they don't think of sex. And then after 2 years, 700 days, they remember, actually that tiger looks pretty good. For 2 years, they were not even thinking of it. So there is a natural regulation. Huh? A bird, you see a bird, you put some grains, the birds come, they take some birds and they fly away. They don't even think, let me store these grains, let me put it here or there. The animals do store, like these squirrels. Apparently they store things in their trees and stuff. But others don't even store anything. They just fly around, they get some bugs, they get some grains here and there. But humans, because we have this bigger capacities, these bigger capacities can be our friend or can be our enemy. If we don't control our senses, then we become slave of the senses. And it's a big problem. It's a big problem because the senses, they need more and more stimulation. They're not enough. It's never enough. Huh? Then the senses become weak. Psychologically, we become dependent on certain sensual experiences when there's too much. And then what happens is that all our time goes searching for sensual satisfaction. All our time. All our time. And sometimes it can be just the subtle things. Some people are addicted of sports. Football. Somehow I see here in India, British football, English football is particularly, in the newspaper they always talk about English football. I don't know why English football particularly. I mean, it's a reputed football. So some people, In England, they just talk about football all the time. They read only about football. They talk only about football. Basically, they spend all their money to go and watch football or to bet on football. So their whole life goes thinking about people kicking a ball on a field. Their whole life. Now, if you want to play football yourself, that's different, okay? You get with your friends in that little field, I don't know, the botanical garden, they allow football? No. Maybe you go in the corner of the botanical garden and you kick for a ball. That's okay. I mean, that's once in a while. It's good sport. But if somebody starts thinking only of football, talking about football, that's like a waste of his human life. And he may be born as a blade of grass on a football field. This mind is always there. So when he dies, he may think something like, Manchester United. And he's born on the field. Because he worshipped the feet of those personalities. Right? He worshipped the feet. And so in the next life, he will have the chance to have the feet of those personalities over his own head. That's a law of karma. Any questions? Not about English football, because I may not be nice, but about what we discussed, sense control. Yes?
How to become nationally reluctant towards unregulated or irregular material enjoyment?
Yeah, this was explained in the previous chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. In the previous chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is addressing this. See, Krishna is very practical. First of all, he doesn't ask anything impractical. Second, he knows really the nature and the tendencies. Because Atma Paramatma is with the Atma. So he knows. He knows what we can do. He knows what we cannot do. So one point, as we see, he said, what repression of your nature will do? Cannot do. You can't. You're an intellectual. You have to be an intellectual. You're a worker, practical worker, physical worker. You have to be a physical worker. Okay? Change your consciousness. So he's very practical. And he knows that the tendency is to become overpowered by desire, by sensual attraction. So he says, he answers exactly this question. He says, this is, if you have the book, it's chapter 2, text 59. He says, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopi asya parandrishva nivartate. In other words, one can try to become detached, but the taste remains. The attraction remains, but he can go beyond this if he develops a higher taste. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment by himself or by others, though the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste is fixed in consciousness. I think we all had the experience of being in the street, coming maybe back from work or something. We are hungry, and when we are hungry, anything becomes attractive. Like you see somebody selling chips, somebody selling, what do you call chana chor? That's Bengal, chana chor. What do you have here? These necks, pav bhajis and things, okay? Pani puri, yeah. So when you're hungry, obviously even a simple pani puri looks attractive because you're hungry. But say when you have a feast, like a wedding feast, and there are so many sabjis, so many puris, chapatis, and then there is sweets and different drinks and this and that. Then after that feast, you don't go around looking for pani puri. You don't even see pani puri because you are satisfied. So similarly, Krishna is saying here, yes, you may try to control the senses, but the senses will demand, well, you were giving me this, why are you not giving me any more? Because there is like a memory. See, scientifically speaking, when we do certain things, or when we think about certain things, certain hormones are produced in the body. There's something called peptides. And these peptides are produced sometimes just by thinking of something. And these peptides modified our cells. So that when we always doing certain things, or we think always about certain things, we become physiologically more attracted or more dependent on that type of experience. So our body changes, literally, our body, our cells change. Like an alcoholic, his blood becomes, a percentage of his blood becomes alcohol. And if he doesn't keep that balance, the body has symptom of withdrawal. Because his blood, his very blood, is partly alcohol. So it becomes even a very strong physiological, not only psychological. So Krishna says, yes, it's a fact. Try to control the senses, but the senses still demand. The mind still demands. But you need to come to a higher taste. And then you'll forget about that. And the Bhagavad Gita talks how to come to this higher taste. Brahma bhuta prasannatma nasuchati nakangshati sama sarvesha bhutesha madbhaktim labhate param. So what the transcendentalists, and you are all transcendentalists, otherwise you won't be here. You'll be eating pani puri somewhere or something else, okay? So you're all transcendentalists. So the transcendentalists, that stage in which, the stage is very critical, when there is an intellectual understanding of the needs, but there is still attraction for things which you understand intellectually they are not good for you or good for your progress. That's a very crucial time, because we are not completely in the realm of spiritual bliss. We don't experience waves of ecstasy and happiness. We don't experience that. Once in a while, a little drop, how was that? That was good. How can I have it again? So we don't experience that, but we are not completely dominated by our senses. We are in transition. No? So that's a very delicate phase. That's a very delicate phase. Yes. Huh?
What do we have to do in the daily phase? Like, do we control, go against the nature and actually avoid this situation?
The secret is to engage your nature in higher pursuits. Okay? Like, for instance, say your nature is to make money. Okay? And there are people who naturally think of making money. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong in making money, producing wealth. Okay? Say that's your nature. Producing wealth. Naturally, that's what you think during the day. Okay? Okay, but if you produce only wealth for yourself, you know that there is karma involved. Because any wealth you produce, you somehow affect the fabric of the universe, you somehow trouble somebody. Like for instance, you could say a relatively innocent business, furniture. Okay? You think, well, this is a good furniture. They are building so many. It's a good furniture, and there's a good business, and there's good prospect. There's a good market. You see all this. Pune, I don't know, it's probably the city in India in which there are most publicity for homes, for houses. You saw that? Like every corner, buy apartments. This morning I saw one. Buy apartment, will give you a gold coin. What this has to do? You need a house. You don't need. If you want a gold coin, if you can buy a house, you can buy a gold coin. You go to the bank, you say, "Give me a gold coin." But they try to. Another publicity I saw this morning. Guaranteed gift to everybody who buys the house. But if you have the money to buy a house, you can buy whatever gifts you want. You don't need the developers to give you a gift. Anyway, this is what I just said. Side comment. So say you see this Pune. Oh, there are a lot of apartments. So they need furniture. So let's put up a business of furniture. Okay? Then, okay, you buy furniture. But furniture is made of wood. Wood comes from trees. Those trees were living entities. They were breathing peaceful somewhere on some Maharashtra Ghat, on some Western Ghat, or somewhere in Indonesia. They were breathing like that, kind of shooting the breeze, because trees don't do much. So, but then somebody else, no, hey, we need furniture in Pune. No, cut down this tree. And then you buy those trees, or you buy the furniture, then you sell the furniture. You make a lot of money, but you also get karma, because you disturb those trees just for making money. So, but that's your nature. You have to think of business. So, you cannot keep the fruits. So do something divine with those fruits. Make money. But then offer the money to Krishna. In practical ways. There are so many. Print Bhagavad Gitas and give knowledge to people. Build a temple where people can come get educated about spiritual life. Or distribute prasadam, spiritual food. So make money. It's not that, some people are natural money makers. We are not saying, no, stop, don't do anything. No, make money. Make even more money. But then give the money for a higher purpose. You are an intellectual, you are a writer, you are a journalist. You like to write. You see things and then you think of pieces, articles, books. So write for Krishna. Help people understand the Bhagavad Gita. In your own words, of course, in your own words, with your own examples, with your own, in your language. Could be Marathi, Hindi, English, Punjabi, and so on. So the idea is not repress your nature, but use that nature for a higher purpose. And when you do that, first of all, you'll see that you'll become more peaceful. Because the element of greed will not be there. If you are working for self-realization, you know that you're doing this article not just to become famous, but you're doing it in the service of a message. You're not trying to attract people to you. You're trying to attract people to the message. And when you make money, it's not just to put it somewhere in some bank or in some mattress. There's so much black money in India, here and there, everywhere. But but use it. Use it. But build a temple, print Bhagavad Gita, open a school where the people learn Bhagavad Gita, and so on and so forth. There are thousands and millions of ways. Websites, open a website, open a Twitter account. You can use technology. And then you'll feel detached, you'll feel peaceful, and then you'll feel a higher happiness. Because there is a subtle connection, like the Bhagavad Gita quotes a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. It's like When you put the food in the stomach, you automatically satisfy the whole body. When you pour water at the root of the tree, you automatically nourish all the branches, twigs, flowers, and leaves. So when you put your service to the center of all existence, naturally you become peaceful. Look, I'm not very advanced in Bhakti Yoga, okay? I'm still struggling in many ways, okay? I have a low birth. I was born a Melecha. I was grown up as a Melecha, okay? So don't expect too much from me, okay? Look at Govinda. He was born in a Brahmin family, never probably touched anything bad, okay? So I am a disaster, okay? But in my own disastrous experience, I have little glimpse of that. I tell you one little experience, okay? My spiritual master wanted me to put together a book. It's called Bhakti Vriksha Manual. It's a handbook on how to do small groups. And I never volunteered, okay? Because I know it's hard work. Those of you who knows writing, especially, system, it takes hard work, hard brain work, research, this, that. English is not my mother tongue. I'm from Italy. Okay, so I knew that he wanted the book, but I was kind of, yeah, nice weather. But then one day he was in the room and he was really. He said in English, there is a saying in Hindi that this thing is eating my head. What's the Hindi? Eating my head? Biting my head? Huh? Okay, something like that. I mean, he didn't say the Hindi, but he said there is and he was really, this thing, because he had the responsibility as a minister for congregational development to produce the book, okay? And I was his assistant. So I was trying to escape. But that day, I had to say, okay, I'll do it. And then, to make a long story short, after different efforts, writing, researching, traveling just to get the illustrations. I mean, it was an effort. I'm just saying, it was an effort. Then at one point we were at the layout phase, okay? And so we were doing all in-house. I had a good brother who was living in Germany, and he was doing professional layout for a UFO magazine. In the middle of Germany, one small place, I don't even remember the name of the town. And it was January, and we were staying in this house. There was a big dog, that sometime I was working on the computer, this dog would come. And it was just an atmosphere, not very. Outside was all winter, all ice. Not leaves on the trees. It was very kind of depressing situation. Okay, cold. It was just me and my friend, good brother. But like for instance, none of us could cook. Okay, so for 1 month we only ate very simple food. Whatever wasn't burnt, we cooked some khichdi, and whatever wasn't burnt, we scratch it and eat. We're just like survival stage. And so it was not a very happy situation in one sense. But then one evening, towards the end of this, I was just about to come to India to give the disc, at the time still disc to the printer. One evening, I was just chanting Hare Krishna in one of these rooms. And I found myself surprised, and I thought, I'm happy. I don't know why. There's no good food, everything is dark, and this dog coming once in a while, and we were staying in somebody else's house. So I found myself happy, peaceful at heart. And then I realized that, well, I must be pleasing my guru, I must be pleasing Krishna. Because otherwise, externally, there wasn't anything that would please my senses. There's nothing stimulating for my senses. But somehow I remember I was there and I found myself, I'm happy. And in fact, then the book was printed. Somehow it came on the last day of this governing body commission meeting. This is the top leaders of ISKCON. So there was the last day. Somehow we brought the book, and my spiritual master could give a copy to each, free copy. I remember one leader from Europe ordered 60 copies. I want 60 copies for all my leaders, for all my temples. So my spiritual master was happy. And in fact, somehow, in his after 1 month was his birthday, the traditional Vyasa Puja, Guru Puja, Vyasa Puja, and somehow in front of 1,000 devotees, he was saying, among other things, he said, I want to give a special thanks to Kaunteya Das for producing the Bhakti Viksha manual. The point is not that he said public. The point is that he really was happy about this thing. He was happy about this thing. And so, in my own small, limited way, I really realized, if you do something for Krishna and something that actually pleases Krishna, pleases the Guru, you'll feel good. That's my experience. Please.
A person's natural tendency is to steal things. And if he prospers, and to compensate on that, if he does some social work, he starts prospering. Will he be part of it?
Doesn't work like that. The politicians.
There is a living example of Malya.
Vijay Mallya, who is that?
He's a businessman.
It's a business. I'm not familiar.
He has put so many people. Side by side, he has started some hospitals, some so-called social work.
Okay.
Now, should he be pardoned?
See, I tell you.
The question she asked. Over all this.
Okay, I'll explain in a short how it works. And it's explained in Bhagavad Gita. Okay? Now, there are three things in Bhagavad Gita. There are three things in Bhagavad Gita. Karma, vikarma, and akarma. Okay? So karma, in the general sense, means action. Action, the consequences of action. No, the law of karma. Okay, we all know karma. I mean, now it's also in English, everybody knows karma. But in the Bhagavad Gita, in the technical sense, karma means pious activities, good karma. Means things which are done, like you said, philanthropy, doing something good, technically more like doing something according to scriptures. Okay? So that gives a certain amount of good karma. Means you will have some material enjoyment. That you plant trees, so that people enjoy shade. So you'll get something in this life, next life. Then there is vikarma. Vikarma means actions contrary to scriptural injunctions, or even contrary to common ethics, laws. So say, okay, you do some, call it sins, call it crimes, and so on, and say you accumulate certain vikarma. In other words, in the future you will have to suffer in some form or another. Okay? Now, it's not that your karma diminishes your vikarma. There are two separate accounts. So what happens? Okay, you do some karma, then you'll have something to enjoy in the future. And you do some vikarma, and you'll have to suffer in the future. You are not going to do, okay, I did this much karma, so now I only have this much vikarma. It does not work like that. You enjoy this, you suffer this. Okay? And the vikarma doesn't affect the karma. You follow? In other words, you will have to enjoy this. Now, the Bhagavad Gita goes one step further. Akarma. Because the Bhagavad Gita tells you, wait a minute. But enjoyment where? What? How? You'll have to have a body to interface with the sense objects, right? So any body, any physical body you have, there will also be birth, which is pretty uncomfortable. Huh? You see the children, they're always crying, so it's uncomfortable. You'll have death, which is pretty uncomfortable. You'll have old age, which is not really so pleasant. You have diseases, plus all the other normal pain, thirst, hunger, envy, fears. Do I look good? Do I look bad? And so on. Anxiety of different type. Do I pass the exam? So even the person with the good karma, if he's intelligent, he understands this is not good karma at all. It's like if you like, we said panipuri as an example. Say you like a panipuri, okay? And I say, you will get a nice plate of panipuri. But you got to go to jail to eat it. You got to stay 1 month in jail. I'll give you a nice plate, the best. But you got to go in jail and stay 1 month in jail. Will you take the panipuri? No. Okay. So, intelligent man and intelligent woman thinks, okay, there is some experience of pleasure.
That is my nature, I will take one.
So you'll go to jail.
That is my nature. I can't resist it.
Then you are in trouble. And that's why the Bhagavad Gita tells you, think twice. Think twice. So the Bhagavad Gita tells, look, forget about karma and vikarma. It's all bad. We are conditioned to think this is good, this is bad. But actually, it's all bad. Because it's all within the suffering. You follow? It's like you say, oh, good panipuri, but you are in jail. You're in jail, it's bad. So then Krishna says, okay, you do akarma. Akarma doesn't mean inaction. You follow, doesn't mean don't do anything. Do things transcendental. Do bhakti yoga. And then, not only you are not, you are not conditioned anymore, but you will also be free from your deposits. So you'll be free. Huh? Claro.
I just wanted to share a particular song. It is from a Madhva saint. He's called Purandaradasa. He was, during the time of Lord Chaitanya, he was in Karnataka, South India. Because what Prabhu shared at the end about his experience of how he was actually feeling happy amidst what was apparently like a very uncomfortable situation, and with what he shared about karma, vikarma, this song kind of summarizes that. So I just wanted to share with you. I won't sing the whole song, just. Beduvaro sukha ಬೇಡರೋ ಕಷ್ಟವ ಮಾಡಲರಿಯರಿದ ಕುಪಾಯವ. Means people, they have so much attachment and aversion towards certain things in this world because of their senses that they're desiring sukha, means good karma. Bedaro kashtava, they don't want difficulties, means they don't want bad karma. And in this way, they're getting entangled in the cycle of birth and death, and it's never ending. Beduvaro sukha, bedaro kashtava, madalariyarida kupayava, beduvaro sukhava, rangaya ninna, beduvaro sukhava. So even to Krishna, even to Vishnu, some unintelligent people, without understanding his power, they only ask for material happiness. But instead, they should actually go beyond and ask for service. ಹಿಟ್ಟ ತುಳಿದು ಒಮ್ಮೆ ಹಿಟ್ಟ ಬೀಸುವರೋ ಕುಟ್ಟಾರೋ ರಂಗವಲ್ಲಿಯ ಸಾಲು ಸಾಲೆಮ್ಮೆಯ ಸೊಲದೆ ತೊಳೆವರೋ ಸಾಲಿಗ್ರಾಮಕ್ಕೆ ನೀರೆರೆಯರೋ ಜನ ಬೇಡುವರೋ ಸುಖವ. This is defining how we actually tendentially we are attracted to engage our senses. I mean, traditionally people would wash buffaloes very keenly, very nicely. Modern day example we can give washing cars maybe. But people don't have time to worship deities and to do abhishek to them. So this analogy is being used to say how we are using our senses for something so useless. Instead of seeing the Lord, we are seeing nonsense. Instead of engaging in activities which purify us, we are engaging in things which is entangling us. So it was actually like a perfect song to what he was actually saying in terms of philosophy. And the solution he gives in the other song, and he says, the first thing begins with the mind. How to not come under the control of such attachment and aversion. He says, this is Purandaradasa again, and he says, ನಾರಾಯಣನ ನೆನೆ ಮನವೇ ನಾರಾಯಣನ ನೆನೆ. He's preaching to the mind. ನಾರಾಯಣನ ವರ್ಣಿಸು ಮನ್ನಿಸು ಆರಾಧನೆಗಳ ಮಾಡುತ್ತ ಪಾಡುತ್ತ ನೀರಾಜನದಿಂದ ಅರ್ಚಿಸು ಮೆಚ್ಚಿಸು ಪಾರಾಯಣ ಪ್ರಿಯನ ವೇದ ಪಾರಾಯಣ ಪ್ರಿಯನ. Please try to understand, my dear mind, what you're actually hankering is self-realization. And therefore, you want enjoyment of the tongue. So why don't you enjoy the holy name and sing? You want enjoyment of company. So why don't you associate with devotees? ಹರಿ ನಿರ್ಮಲ್ಯವ ಶಿರಧಲಿ ಧರಿಸು ಶ್ರೀ ಹರಿ ನೈವೇದ್ಯವ ಭುಂಜಿಸುತ್ತಿರು ನಿತ್ಯ ಇರುಳು ಹಗಲು ಹರಿ ಸ್ಮರಣೆಯ ಬಿಡದಿರು ದುರುಳರ ಕೂಡದಿರು ನೀನು ದುರುಳರ ಕೂಡದಿರು. More tips. Always take Charanamrit of the Lord. In this way, your mind will be cleansed of all contaminations. Always honor the prasadam, so your tongue will hanker only for pure things. And always keep away from bad association. But always remind your mind to always remember Lord Narayan, Lord Krishna. In this way, you will get rid of these blocks and you will walk on the path of self-realization. And like Prabhu is explaining, like from his personal example, the main secret is we're looking for happiness. And we have to acknowledge that. But we need to tell our mind that the real happiness is not in sense gratification, but it's in pleasing the senses of the Lord. The Lord is actually the root that Prabhu is explaining. When we water the root, then the whole branches gets nourishment. So we are those branches. Our senses are those branches. So that's the summary of that song. Thank you.
To specifically answer your question, somebody is a thief, okay? He has the tendencies to steal. Maybe he stole all his life. Then you need to analyze exactly, maybe now he doesn't need to steal anymore, okay? So why is attracted? What he wants in the stealing? Maybe it's the adrenaline. Maybe it's the excitement. It's the excitement to do something prohibited, to do something criminal, okay? So then, one idea, you go and spread Krishna consciousness where it is forbidden. You know, in Vietnam, for instance, just by distributing the Bhagavad Gita, you can go in jail for 6 years. So you're attracted to criminal activity, go to Vietnam and distribute the Bhagavad Gita. It's criminal. It's dangerous. It'll give you a lot of adrenaline. Huh? So do that. So you'll find the adrenaline that you need, but you'll serve Krishna at the same time. I think we can close here. We are way above the time allotted. Huh? You like to close? know what's happening next.
Hare Krishna. So thank you very much, His Grace Kaunteya Prabhu and Mataji, for very wonderful and heartening insights that you shared on these two verses. And we wish and also pray to you that like you, we become people engaged in higher tastes and thus give up our attachments and aversions that are boggling us down in our path of self-realization. So let's thank them by chanting Hari Bol 3 times. Hari Bol!